Hello and Happy New Year. Okay, so we are going to be doing today a Dinky kit, which is the Dinky 1018 Atlantean bus, which is, I think is based off the Dinky 295. So this dates to sometime in the mid-70s to 78, I think. I was asked how large these kits actually are. So this one's not very big. It's 6 inches by about 7, which is like 15 by 180 millimeters. Just to give you an idea. Okay, so if you've never seen one of these kits before, I'll just give you a look over the packaging first. So on the back there you have like all the parts, and on the lower part of the panel it shows you other kits that you can get, and there's quite a few. Okay, so you can see there with the Rolls-Royce and the Volvo that we've already done. And as I say, these date to the mid to late 70s. You can see all the other, the 109. I'd love to do a 109, I'll have to get around to that at some point if I can find one. Okay, so as you can see, this hasn't got very many parts. It's just basically got 2 main castings, plastic interior and transfers, and the idea is for you to make a white National Express bus, but we're going to do something different in this. What we'll do is we'll actually paint this up as a West Midlands Passenger Transport Executive bus, or a WMPTE bus from Birmingham, which I think stopped operating in the mid-80s. I think WMPTE, it got turned into something else. So the buses have a very distinctive scheme. I'll just show you the instructions here. Right, so here it's showing an exploded diagram of the bus and how to hook the whole thing together. You can see the little illustration for using a hammer to knock the wheels on. Don't recommend that. I'd say just pushing them. And also using a hammer to flatten the studs on the axles, which I don't recommend either. Now I did actually try this on using a little toffee hammer, but it's too much. And I just ended up using long nose pliers to bend those things over. So all the instructions are in various languages. You notice also it says enamel paint is installed, it's supplied with the kit. And here's the kit. Now you might notice that this is a bit different to the other kits that we've done so far, in that although you've got the holder for the file of glass, the glass file of paint, this comes with a tin of paint by a company called Gloy rather than Humbrol. Now sometime in the late 70s, Gloy basically brought out a big range of paints in an attempt to displace Humbrol from their position in the modelling making market. And I think Humbrol fought back and produced more colours and what have you, and so basically fought them off. I dimly remember these in the late 70s. Now I haven't tried this paint, but if you shake the tin you can hear it's all perfectly liquid inside. So I mean, what I might try and do is a very brief video opening this and see if it still paints okay, if anyone's interested. Alright, in this case it's coming with gloss white. This would be instead of the file of Humbrol white paint. And also, because you get this tin, you're also getting much more paint. You're getting about twice as much paint as the file would contain, maybe even 3 times the amount of paint. So I don't know if Dinky basically did a deal with Gloy, or it's just for this model. This is the only one I've seen the tin of paint with so far. Okay, so should we grab the knife and open this package? See what tips out. We'll all imagine different tunes in our heads. Wondering if the theme to Countdown would be quite good. That's a quiz show on Channel 4 TV in the UK for our American viewers. You may have no idea what I'm on about. Now, WMPTE was a subsidised bus service in Birmingham, and I remember in the late 70s, very early 80s, they did an offer where I think on weekends, at certain times, I think it was weekends, you could travel anywhere for 2 pence. So one of the things I did, just for the sake of an explore, was I got on the number 11 bus, which is a circular bus route that goes around the outsides of Birmingham. I think it's 27 miles, I think. Longest urban route in Europe, I think. And I went all the way around it in about 2 hours, 2.5 hours one Sunday for 2p, just to see where it went. So yes, the sorts of things you do when you're of a certain age. Now, here we've got the fixing instructions for the transfers, which I think if you know how to do water slide transfers, this shouldn't hold any surprises. Now, we're not going to use these. We're going to have a go at making our own. So that should be a little learning exercise, even if it means never do it again. Okay, so we have the tub for the seats and all the glazing components of the bus. And I have to admit, the tub, it's just a piece of vacuum formed plastic. It's not great. I think it's actually got some holes in it, I think, for when it was made. But you won't be able to see that, frankly, once it's assembled. So as you can see there, the moulding's not particularly great there. But then vacuum form mouldings, generally in these things are, let's be honest, they're cheap. So anyway, we've got the glazing. That's for the upper deck, as it's nicely labelled for us. And we've got here as well, I think, the glazing for the lower deck. As you can see, it's all in quite good condition. A bit dirty, but apart from that, it's fine. Considering this is 40 plus years old. Now the lower deck piece actually forms two rolls here. It actually holds the upper deck blue seating in place, and above that holds the upstairs glazing into place as well. So you've got like a structure within the bus, so there's no sort of like a crevice that the parts lock into in the upper half of the bus. They're just literally sit on top of this. Okay, so that's just the bag with the wheels and axles in. And these are the metal components of the bus, and that's it. As you can see there's the hole for the file of paint, which was never produced with the model. As you can see, our downstairs has got cast seating. And in practice on these buses, I think they did away with the second door. So basically you went in and out. The whole idea of these buses was basically you had one man could operate the whole bus, so having a conductor as well. So you had to go past the driver, who's moulded not greatly in metal here. Okay, so the upper half of the bus has got quite a bit of flashing, but we'll see to that with a small file. Just try and get it to focus on it. There you go, so there's a bit of flashing on the doors, these louver doors, and on the windows, so there will be some filing. Okay, so just check the fit of the base into the top, and I think it goes in fine actually. There's no problems there at all. And then what happens is there's a little screw in a piece of metal that actually goes through that hole that holds the two pieces together. So obviously of all the interior fitted, obviously. Okay, so next step. Okay, I thought I'd just show you very quickly the wheels and axles supplied with the bus. And I must admit, I did not like it when Dinky went to these thin axles, because basically the models are so heavy they just bend the axles. If you're at all clumsy with anything, which, let's be honest, most kids are when they're having fun with things. So as you can see, you get 4 wheels, 2 axles, which are that sort of chromed. I don't really like them, to be quite honest. Can't get it to focus. I think the camera's agreeing with me. I'll get there eventually. Come on. Shazam. No. Oh, dear me. There you go. So as you can see, they're just basically a little bit of silver chrome on the wheels, and basically just push the things together. Not recommended to hammer. Okay, so here I'm just filing the flashing off the moulding using a small file. You can sort of see it starts to look much tidier very quickly. Basically all the openings in the casting have got flashing somewhere, so I don't know if the mould for the bus was starting to wear out at the point they started to make this, or it was always this flashy and someone just spent a lot of time filing all the bits out of it and on the production line, which I can't believe really. So I think it's probably the mould was getting a bit wore out when they started producing these. Okay, so I'm just going to give a layer of surface primer to the upper half of the bus. This is Vallejo Ghost Grey, I think it is. Basically just any old primer will do, but preferably a lighter colour. So for this, what I've done is I've just decanted it into disposable shot glass, and I'll just put a bit of thinner in it as well just to make it go a bit further, and then we'll spray it grey. Okay, having let the primer dry out, which took about half an hour to an hour, we're now going to spray the bus its light colour first for the livery, which is cream, and this has been made using a Vallejo bone colour, I think, for their game figures, and to this has been added a little bit of yellow and a little bit of dark earth, just to get the colour away from the bleached bone, I think is what the colour was called, but it's fairly near to it. Now the bus livery colour scheme is upper half cream, lower half a sort of dark blue, a Prussian blue. I think we have a blue which is very similar to it, in the form of, I think, royal blue, which Vallejo supply for their game figures, so we're going to use that. Now one of the advantages of the Vallejo paints is that they are truly water-based paints, and they don't have any dangerous chemicals in them, so basically they're very safe to use. I'm actually using the spray booth here with the hose is not pointing outside at all. It's just collecting any particles that will just clog in the filter, but there's no gas that I have to worry about, which get with the spray paints or a lot of the Tamiya paints. Even though they're acrylics, you'll forget what they have to be sprayed with. Some of it's quite carcinogenic if you're not careful. So I've just sprayed the cream colour into the rear of the bus, because that's going to go across the demarcation line between the two colours. I'm just checking to see if any little bits need touching up, and that's it. Okay, so now I've masked everything up and I'm spraying the darker colour. So as you can see, I'm just going to spray the interior of the bus the same colour as well, because it actually works well with the interior plastics, because they're the right colour already, funnily enough, by coincidence. I've probably told you already in a previous video about the twirlies, and these were in Birmingham anyway. If you got over a certain age, if you had your old age pensioner bus pass, you could travel, I think, for free on the buses, but you couldn't do it until after 9:30 in the morning or something. So what would happen is obviously you get people who'd be trying to get on the bus on the dot at 9:30, or even sometimes a little ahead of it, and so they get on the bus and they say, "Am I too early?" So of course then everyone refers to them as the twirlies. So there you go, bit of social history there. I don't know if they still do it. Okay, so now we're going to spray the lower half of the casting, the royal blue, which we're painting up the doors, which I must admit I'm not too sure if that's correct, but I have to go with my memory on this one. And when I finish painting all of this, I'm then going to spray it with clear coat to make it all glossy. Right, I forgot to press record taking the masking tape off. I'm so professional. So anyway, we're going to look at the instructions now about how to get these axles on, because I think it's best to do it now before we start manhandling the whole bus and possibly scratch something. So we're just going to do it with the base plate on its own. Now, as you can see there, he's using a hammer, which I don't believe in doing that, to be quite honest, but we'll give it a go. Okay, after a bit of swearing, I found pliers was the best way to go, but I found that the tabs tended to bend easier or worse depending on which one you were squeezing on. So it's not too tidy, but I don't want to do it too much in case they actually snap off. I've just done a little bit of touching up there by hand where I've scratched the paint on the underside. Okay, let's reassemble this, and we'll read the instructions just to be on the safe side. Oh, how hard can it be? Okay, so just pressing in the upper deck's glazing first. It just sort of just basically clicks in. Okay, and now we'll put the tub in next for upstairs. Just make sure it's the right way around. Don't have passengers going in the wrong direction, so we'll get complaints. So as you can see there, the plastic just sort of basically sits in under the window, and then we put the next bit on, which is the lower deck. This is what really holds it all together. I don't know why I'm trying to put it in backwards, it's just one of those days. Okay, and that basically just clicks in once it's pushed fully home. Okay, now we're going to put the two halves together. Just put some tissue down, soft cloth. Put our lower deck in. You can see it sort of hinges in at the back there. And then it's quite a snug fit now because of the paint. Right, now we've got our little fixing plate and the screw still in the bag, we're kept safe. We'll just gently screw this together, and that's the bus assembled. And then what we'll do is we'll move on to putting some transfers on it. We're going to put some custom transfers on this that I've made myself. Okay, so what I've done is I got some cheap water slide paper off the internet. I looked at some old photos of buses and found one of them was using Vision Hire as an advert. So what I did was I looked at the Vision Hire corporate colours on the internet and then produced these transfers, and all they are is basically just a picture done in Photoshop which I've printed out. So I've made 4 sets of them in case there's mistakes, because these are going to be quite fragile. I still managed to cut it wrong with a ruler. Oh dear. Anyway, and so basically we've got the adverts for the side of the bus, and we've got the number 11 for the rear of the bus, and we've got the front plate which will say number 11 as well, and the destination, which in this case is Perry Bar and Handsworth. And even though I've still cut it wrong twice in a row, I don't know, I can't get the staff. Now, having printed these out with my inkjet printer, which isn't very good, I'll be honest, I then gave it a quick spray over the top with some Tamiya TS13 clear coat, just to seal them, so when they get wet the ink won't run. At least that's what I've read on the internet will happen. But be warned, you have a very short period of time to put these down, and the ink will run anyway if you're not careful. So you have to work fairly quick with them. Now for these decals, I actually bought transparent decal paper, and I think with hindsight, what I should have done is gotten white decal paper, because once these are applied to the surface, they darken because they take on the colour slightly of the background, whereas white paper wouldn't have done that. So what I've done is I've soaked the decal strip in some water until it's gone slightly soft, and then very gently I'll ease it off the paper. And to help it stick, I'm using Microset, which is what the bottle is in the background. Now can you see how the colour changes of the transparency, the decal, sorry. I should have used the white backed paper instead of clear, but live and learn. Now with these as well, is you really can't move them around much. You've got to try and get it right first time, otherwise they can fold over, or they can tear, or they can stretch. So basically once it's on, I'm only gently swabbing the water off there, I'm not putting any pressure on it. But it's come out okay actually. So basically repeat this for the other side once this is dried, and we'll have both sides done, and then we can move on to doing the front. So we're just going to put on our route number and destination sticker now, and if you're from Birmingham at all, you'll know the locations. I think they'll all be very recognisable to you. Now, I did mess this one up and actually stretched it, so I actually did it again and it came out fine. But this is an example of where you should stop fiddling. When you get to a set, it should go on as quick as you can and just leave it alone. But I had to fiddle with it. Now if you'd like to know more about how the decals are made, I can make a special video just on that if you guys are interested. Although there are a few people already doing it. As you can see, as the more I play with it, it just gets worse. And it actually, after a while on its own, it starts to curl up because I've been tampering with it. So I just ended up repeating this and it came out fine. Okay, so the transfers are dried and now I'm just putting a little bit of silver paint on the headlights. Okay, so I've done my research on the colours of the tail lights on the back of a bus, so it's quite funny searching the internet for photos of the back of a bus of the right type and vintage, etc. So it's indicators at the top, brakes, and then reversing lights. So it should be red, orange, red, clear. But for some reason I did orange first. So anyway, but I'll correct this and overpaint it with the red. So there you go, I'm just covering my tracks. How about that? Okay, so I think it looks a bit different from the usual red London Transport bus, which you always seem to see. And if you're wondering about Vision Hire, they were actually a company that you could hire your TV from in the 70s and 80s. And I remember as a child actually having a TV set. We had a black and white telly that we rented, and it had a coin slot on it. So there you go. So that's showing our age there a bit, isn't it? Okay. Okay, so we've gotten our Dinky Atlantean bus kit. We've decided to build it in a different paint scheme with some advertising. And we've decided to honour the number 11 bus route of Birmingham. So if you're from Birmingham, you'll know what I'm on about. And if you're from anywhere else, you'll have no idea. But anyway, I hope you found that interesting. And we'll see you in the next video. So if you liked what you've seen, please subscribe. By all means comment. And thank you for supporting the channel. Okay, thank you. Bye.